Hi, I'm Ken from Crypto Trading KS. It's great to see you again. Let's run the numbers. Bitcoin currently 64,719, up 0.59%. Ethereum 45.97, down 1%. My goal is to assist you to be more of a financial blessing to yourself and those you love, and also gain real wealth in the process. Let's have a look at Bitcoin's technical analysis. We can see Bitcoin currently trading at 64,636. We can see a lot of upward support here. The price is just hovering around that central support line. We want price to get above around 67,000 to progress strongly upwards. We noticed that on November the 14th, the Taproot upgrade was successful. That is, the Bitcoin forking was completed. What does this actually mean for Bitcoin? The Taproot upgrade was the first major upgrade since the SegWit upgrade of 2017. Basically what Taproot does, it makes transactions faster, slightly reduces the blockchain size, which is really good, and increases privacy. The major thing is that this is a soft fork. It's a backwards compatible fork, which means that if you hold Bitcoin for the next 30, 40 years, you're only going to get soft forks. What that means is it's not a hard fork. It doesn't split off. Your Bitcoin will be persistent. That's very, very good. It basically means backwards compatibility. You can hold Bitcoin forever and you know it's not going to split off. I'll go into hard forks and soft forks in another episode. Returning to Bitcoin, in around 5 days, the Mt. Gox rehabilitation will occur. Mt. Gox in 2014 was subject to a hack in which 850,000 Bitcoins were stolen. As part of the remediation or the settling of this particular problem, the trustee for Mt. Gox, which is now defunct, was holding 150,000 Bitcoin worth approximately $10 billion. That's going to be spread amongst 20,000 victims. That's what the Mt. Gox rehabilitation is all about. Perhaps think about it like this. If you had Bitcoin on an exchange and you've waited 7 years for some kind of restitution and you're getting Bitcoin back, and it's a lot of Bitcoin in terms of the current value, about $10 billion, would you sell it or would you hold it? It's a really important question. I think some people after 7 years would definitely sell it. That could put sell pressure on the current Bitcoin price. We could come down to, for example, this secondary support line, which is around 52,000. It may be a short-lived sell because we know we're in the bull market and the expectation of higher prices has been locked into the collective crowd psychology. In about 18 days, on the December the 3rd, the debt ceiling issue needs to be resolved. There's no question it will be resolved, but there will be some political wrangling and it will cause some instability. That's mainly because politicians like to leverage things, especially at the 11th hour, 11th minute. They want to get what they need. And they really don't mind the idea of destabilization as a draw card to push agendas. That's just what politicians do. However, I don't think there's any confusion at all that the debt ceiling will be raised, but you could expect some turbulence in between. The major issue under challenge for the financial markets is Evergrande. Evergrande missed a payment of its international dollar-denominated debt. Just recently, Al Jazeera reported that China's Evergrande repaid the bond holders $148 million. Evergrande has $300 billion in liabilities and $19 billion which are in international market bonds. This is really important. A failure to pay would have resulted in a formal default by the company and triggered cross-default provisions for other Evergrande dollar bonds. Evergrande is going to do whatever it can to avoid cross default. That means default of bonds that are not yet due. You can have a look at Evergrande's China Evergrande Group. It's 3333 in Hong Kong, the Hong Kong exchange. When Evergrande is under problem, the share price comes down. When confidence is restored in Evergrande's ability to meet its debt repayments, the price goes up. This can be a fantastic way of understanding what is going on. And you can just track this through the wallstreetjournal.com. It is a fantastic news source. This gives us an insider's edge in understanding what is happening. We'll just keep our eye on this chart. The next major milestone is December the 28th for Evergrande. We'll just keep our eye on things. It's really important to understand that trading and investing is a psychological game. If your psychology is really strong, you'll be okay. That's why we say always make in advance probabilistic choices. Just look at any crypto that you're in. If the price increases exponentially, what will you do? If the price drops by 20, 30, 40, 50%, what would you do? If the price just goes sideways and it's so boring for a month, what would you do? If you've got answers to these questions, you're winning the psychological game. We'll get into the more technical details of Bitcoin and where it's headed in a second. I think it's really important when you're in the panic and blame zone, which is zone 1 and zone 2, with your investing and trading, it's really easy to get faked out of positions. Any negative news will cause you to basically act like a light switch, go all in or all out, on or off. You want to seek to move past that kind of behavior into probabilistic fearlessness, and that is that we just trade the chart in front of us. We're aware that things can go in our favor and against us, but in the long term, the trend of Bitcoin and crypto is undoubtedly positive. It's really more about awareness to understand these things. What we do inside our community, we have a little thing called the Volatility Fund, which is called the 10-5-10 Fund. The concept, if something is $10, it drops down to $5, it just decreased by 50%. But if you bought it at 5 and it comes back, that's 100% increase. So what we do is we keep a fraction of the money aside for what we want to invest and trade with to catch long tail rejections, these new spikes. We actually use volatility for our advantage, and we wait for price to come to us. Of course, we always participate in the market as well. We trade the chart that we view. What is this chart telling us? Well, it's telling us that basically Bitcoin is just wobbling around support at the moment. The potential is, because of this momentum, is that it will push higher. That's the probability. But we also know that there are other factors that can push the price down, and we are aware of those things. It doesn't mean a negative price move means that the price of Bitcoin is just going to fall forever. It's not like that. We don't panic. We're aware of the positive and negative risk, and we have an upside and a downside risk strategy in play at all times. The next target for Bitcoin on the positive side is 73,638. We have good support at 61,897, 55,590, and 49,305. Just another piece of news. On November the 16th, the Van Eck Bitcoin Strategy Fund XBTF Futures Bitcoin ETF will be launched. Van Eck tried to get the SEC to put through a spot offering. The SEC has approved a futures offering. Futures tend to make the market more volatile because futures expire. That's actually really good for us. Having more volatility inherent in Bitcoin and crypto is exactly what we want for it to be adopted. When people see the incredible swings in volatility, they just want to be part of it. Let's seek to race through where Bitcoin is and where it could be going. We know that there's no current euphoria in the market. There is belief, absolutely. We're in this green area, but we're not seeing an exponential ramp up in price. This green area can travel for quite a few months until we reach the top. We notice that the number of new addresses in Bitcoin is starting to ramp up, but we're not getting a euphoric spike just yet. That means that we're not around the top at the moment. Looking at the Bitcoin stablecoin supply ratio SSR oscillator, we can see stablecoins are coming into the market and being deployed into Bitcoin. This is supporting upward price momentum. That's a good sign. Also, there's an undeniable relationship between total futures open interest and the price. The price of Bitcoin here is in white. Now, why do we need to look at the price of Bitcoin? Because Bitcoin's gravity impacts every alt. If Bitcoin goes up, your beloved alts will go up. If Bitcoin goes down, your beloved alts will go down on average, especially if Bitcoin goes down a lot. What we can see is the futures open interest is starting to bottom out and starting to actually come up. That's not surprising. A Bitcoin's ETF is about to be approved, about to start trading. We can see futures open interest is 24.2 billion, but what's the latest figure? It's 25.42. There is latent power in the crypto market at the moment. Looking at the search term Bitcoin in Google Trends can be very advantageous as well. When there is mania, there's a lot of people searching for the term Bitcoin. This tends to hammer in at top when it goes exponential. We're down here at the moment. Interest is there, but it's kind of low. This is not signifying a top. Another way to gauge sentiment is to look at the options expiration of Bitcoin. For options expiring at the end of the month, we can see there's a lot of calls in the market. This is the expectation of higher prices, all the way up to $120,000. The max pain price where the majority of these options expire worthless is $60,000. The markets were getting a little overheated recently. It's nice to see that the Crypto Fear and Greed Index is 74. This is definitely greed, but it's not extreme greed. When markets hit extreme greed, they typically sell down. We're seeing an extended period of optimism, which is fantastic, and we would expect that to continue. It's really important to gain a long-term view over where crypto is headed. That's why we look at the KSModel, which is a crypto technical trading model based on institutional price psychology. What we can see here is that we're currently in the bull market psychology segment of the market action. Market action is always divided into three: bull market, bear market, consolidation, and then it repeats. These lightning bolts are black swan events. Black swan events happen all the time in markets. It's just a natural repercussion of volatility. I originally wrote about the KSModel predicting 486,000 by May the 25th, 2022 on May the 25th, 2021. That was 174 days ago. I have kept a very close eye on Bitcoin, of course, because it's so important. I haven't needed to change this estimate yet, but if things change, I will absolutely change it. We can see actually what is so interesting. Many analysts are now predicting Bitcoin to reach around that $500,000 mark. When we go back 170 plus days ago, people were talking about a maximum of around 120,000 for Bitcoin. Very interesting. I've predicted that the absolute minimum that I believe Bitcoin will reach is $132,418. This level here, this is the minimum high. We can see that a particular price of Bitcoin could zone between 288 and 486. I'm leaning towards the probability of 486. 288 is Plan B's model. One thing to pay particular note to is the relative strength of the market is on an uptrend. This is a very, very healthy sign. This means the relative power underneath the crypto market is increasing, just as we would expect. It's critical to understand that the journey to the top will not be a smooth one. We're going to see massive increases in price, for example 90, 40, 70%, but we're also going to see 20, 30, 40, 50% reductions in price. That's why it's very psychological to invest and trade in the crypto market. That's why I spend a lot of time on it. I do the Real Wealth series to help you become really psychologically armored and gain the skills that you need. It's critically important to understand Rule 45. No alt can escape Bitcoin's gravity. Many people, when they're new to the crypto market, they fall in love with a particular crypto or group of cryptos, and they just think, oh, I'm just going to look at those, and I don't care what the market's doing, and I don't care what Bitcoin's doing. I just love my alts. I love them so much. And seriously, what's not to love about your lovable alts? They're very lovable. The problem is that Bitcoin's gravity will impact your beloved alts. You really need to look at Bitcoin. And that is, when Bitcoin starts to go up, you'll notice a directional move in your alts. When Bitcoin decreases in price, you will see a directional movement in your alts. It doesn't go 100% of the time, but it's about 99. The other thing that occurs with people that are new to trading and investing, they tend to ignore the main markets, for example, the stock market. It's incredibly important to understand that this is all part of investment substitutability. The S&P 500, the proxy for stocks, is up 29%. Gold is down 1%. That's done really well. That was so far underwater before. And Bitcoin is up 299% for the past 12 months. The reason that we look at the stock markets, especially the US stock market, is that the US stock market has about 50% of the value of all global stock markets within it. That is a lot of money in the US stock market. Also, stock markets globally have about $100 trillion in them. The bond markets have about 130 trillion. That's why we look at the bond prices and the bond yields here. And this is why we need to understand that money just sloshes around the economic system, hunting for a good return. Crypto is quite volatile, as you know, and that volatility attracts a lot of people, but it's highly speculative as well. Looking at the VIX is the fear gauge of the stock market. The fear is coming out of the market. That's good. What does that mean? When fear comes out of a market, price goes up, and that's exactly what we see with the NASDAQ 100. The put-call ratio is a counterintuitive measure, but basically it's lower than a key level, just like the VIX is lower than a key level. I'll explain these in a more deep dive video. Like crude oil is wobbling around a little bit, but it looks like it's starting to want to go up in price. The bond prices have actually bypassed resistance, broken through this resistance, and then lost it. We'll keep our eye on what happens here. Bond yields were going down, hit a level of support and bounced up. They're not through resistance yet. We need to keep our eyes on what is happening with the bond market. Gold futures, gold, as we saw, and we note that because we look at gold all the time, it was down to around negative 14%. It's down to around negative 1%. Go gold. It's going for gold. It's going up and getting across this resistance line. Let's see if it holds it. The DXY, the US dollar currency index, is also increasing. Crypto can undoubtedly create life-changing wealth, but life is more than just money. What we focus on as a community is real wealth. Real wealth includes inner and outer peace, fulfillment, meaning, fearlessness, empathy and love, generosity, selflessness, kindness, integrity and decency. These are all the things that make a truly beautiful life. The greatest challenges that you will ever face in life, but especially in trading and investing, are self-sabotage and self-doubt. This little quote goes a long way towards getting rid of both. Knowing that you are worthy and unique, that you deserve kindness, love, meaning, and every success in life, because you are so unique. There's only going to be one of you in the entire history of this world. That is something to celebrate. You are definitely worthy. You have skills, special things that you are going to bring to the world, and hopefully you will be pursuing positive excellence, life-affirming excellence, and not negative excellence. Positive excellence is covered in the Real Wealth series. I hope you found the content useful. Please consider sharing and liking this video if you think it will help others. Thank you very much to our moderators for keeping our community safe from scammers. Please say hi and let me know where you're viewing from and if you have any questions. If you would like daily updates on price movements in the crypto market, please subscribe to YouTube. I've left helpful links in the description of this video. Please remember, crypto is volatile. Always prepare yourself for the best and worst case scenarios. Reality will likely be between them. Stay safe out there. Take care and see you next time. Bye for now.